I declare the meeting of the City Council open. This hybrid meeting is being conducted on a multi-locational basis in accordance with the Local Government and Elections Act and the arrangements for the multi-location meetings agreed by Council, which will operate alongside the Council's standing orders to ensure that we continue to take democratic decisions in an open and transparent manner. Please note that today's meeting is being filmed for live and subsequent broadcast by way of the Council's internet site. The images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes within the Council. As you will see from the agenda papers, generally the public seating areas are not filmed. However, by entering the meeting room and using the public seating area, you are consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting or for training purposes. As well as being broadcast live, a recorded version will be available on the Council website about 24 hours after the meeting. With those members present in the Council chamber, please use their microphones to contribute to the meeting, and please remember to speak clearly into the microphone and to switch off your microphone when you are finished. For those attending remotely, can I request that you switch off your cameras and mute your microphones when you are not speaking to ensure there is no unnecessary background noise and to help the audio and visual quality of the broadcast. The Council's standing orders and code of conduct will apply at all times during this hybrid meeting. In the same way, ordinary meetings and members should conduct themselves accordingly. Members joining remotely are reminded that the use of online chat function during the meeting is not permitted. For the benefit of anyone watching on the live stream, when I invite members to cast their vote remotely on any particular item, they will do so by raising their hand with their camera switched on so they can be visible and for the duration of the vote. There will be a pause while the votes are counted. Please do not switch off your camera until I ask you to do so, as this will make it difficult to count the votes. Those members present in the Council chamber will vote in the same way by a show of hands. Welsh translation of the proceedings can be provided upon request. I move on now to item 1. Apologies. I've got apologies from Councillor Hussain, Jenkins, Reid, Jordan, Fairweather, Alex Pym and Councillor Westhead. Okay. Can I remind councillors to sign in and out on the tablets in the main reception? There has been an issue where some members haven't been signing in and out. If I can just make one announcement here at the moment. You will see on your agenda, on I think it's item 5, it's a motion that was going to be by Councillor Howells. He's unfortunately going to be late, so we're going to move that now to item 12, which will be straight after number 11. Okay? Right, minutes of the previous...
Sorry, presiding member. Declaration of interest.
Sorry, yes, sorry.
Can I declare an interest in being a season ticket holder for the Dragons Rugby?
Okay.
Chair, I declare that my daughter actually works for Newport County.
Sorry?
Do I need to declare that I do business with the Dragons?
I think it's best if you do it, then you receive it.
In no special way, I'd like to add.
Okay.
Chair, season ticket holder for the Dragons.
Season ticket. I can't hear you all. Anybody else?
Yes. Presiding member.
Yes, please, Chair.
Sorry?
Newport County.
Newport County, right, okay. Councillor Whitehead online as well, is it? Thank you.
Yeah, presiding member. I've previously had a sit-down meeting with some council officers and, well, as she is now Baroness Wilcox in the past, where I presented a blueprint on behalf of Newport County with a delegation from Newport County regarding a different setup within the city. I don't know whether that is considered a clash here.
No, I wouldn't have thought so, to be perfectly honest. No problem. Okay, with those declarations of interest noted, we move on now to the minutes of the previous meeting. Any announcements? I've mentioned my announcements. It was Councillor Howells, wasn't it, moving that agenda item? I've done that. I don't think you're listening to me. Right, let's move on now to the minutes of the previous meeting. The proposer. Is there a seconder to the minutes? Thank you. Will all those in favour please vote? Any against? Any abstentions? Well, I think that's carried. We move on now to item 3, police matters. Can I welcome... Sorry? That's not... Yeah. No, your appointment is after. Police matters. Sorry? I got police matters here. Okay. Look, let's do it now, okay? Police matters now, right, okay. Can I welcome Chief Inspector Stevie Warden? Please be gentlemen, this is the first time he's been here to the council chamber.
No, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Steve Warden. I'm the Chief Inspector covering neighbourhood policing for the whole of the Gwent Police Force, so I cover the whole area. I've got 28 years service, working in all areas of policing. For the last 4 years I've worked specifically in this area, but I've got a good knowledge of Newport. I have been based in Newport in several different teams, and I've got obviously managed the area now. So I'll try and answer as many questions as I can. I'll try and be as helpful as I can, but I'll just give you a little bit of an overview where we are now, where we've been. Only a couple of minutes just to kind of, and then I'll concentrate on questions and try and cover off what people would like to know or address. So essentially, crime trend for the Newport area. In January, we've seen a massive decrease with 600 less crimes in January. It also dipped in December as well, so we put quite a lot of work into ASB policing with what's called a Winter of Action, which was a special project in all areas across the force, in particular Newport, where we would do action plans specifically around nighttime economy, ASB, etc., trying to make that impact on the town when we knew the potential could be an increase because of the Christmas period in the nighttime economy, etc. So we saw a slight rise in crime in November. It dipped then in December, and we've seen quite a steep drop overall in Newport in January. Just to cover off, we've seen that the section I cover, kind of Newport Central, Newport East, which is mainly the area, that side of the force, Newport West, Bettis. So for Newport Central, we've seen a decrease as well in January of at least 50% in crime. We've also seen a decrease again in January. I appreciate we haven't finished January yet, but looking at the figures, etc., we are expecting it being well below our normal measures, our own crime figures. So we're doing well so far. We did see a bit of a peak in Newport Central in November. That was probably our busiest time for crime. It dropped slightly in December, and we've dropped in January. So I would say the problematic months in relation to crime was November for us. So I'll just kind of touch on that. I'm looking at what sort of crimes affecting us. ASB and nuisance behaviours is reported on. So we've seen a decrease in Newport West of 10%, decrease of 12% in Newport East, and the city centre we have seen a rise. So we've put things in place in relation to the rise in ASB there in the town centre. So when we're looking at antisocial behaviour, I'm looking at main areas, so 71.5%, essentially 71% is nuisance behaviour on the streets in Newport, and that's what's causing that problem within the Newport area. And then I've got a bit of an overview of crime which has affected each area in Newport West. So overall, we've got in the neighbourhood detection rate, with 30.5% detection rates have done really well. Same again for Newport East, nearly 30% detection rate, and Newport Central's a 50% detection rate. And we're looking at Newport West. The main crimes we've got there is vehicle crime and violence with injury. We're looking at criminal damage in Newport East. And then Newport City Centre, we've got shoplifting and violence without injury, and public order offences then, which would go in time with the type of area we're policing. So we're just looking at areas of crime. Newport sits above average in relation to other areas across the force, and we've set up various things to tackle the issues raised. So we've got winter of action, which I talked about, which is the how we're addressing antisocial behaviour across the force. We've also specifically designated the superintendent to lead on ASB plans for the year. It's a full-on project to see where we can reduce antisocial behaviour. We can try and reduce that nuisance behaviour across the force. That's something that's not been done before. Each area has to submit an action plan, how they tend to identify the problematic areas, how they tend to deal with the issues that we face in relation to antisocial behaviour. So that's a bit of a brief overview, just the figures to see where we are. We are doing well in relation to crime as we head towards the year, but we've also started off, as you may have seen on social media, with real positive effect. We've done about 15 warrants in the last 2 weeks. That's on neighbourhood alone. We've also had our serious organised crime team doing warrants, which resulted in 4 people being remanded. So we had some really good positive work being done in relation to all aspects of crime, drugs, etc. So we've started the year really pushing hard and trying to tackle that area of crime. So we've also got our CAT team. It's called it's a community action team that looks at hotspot areas across the force. That's 16 police officers and 6 PCSOs, and they specifically enter an area to deal with, engage with the community and look to enforce policing in that area and look at to tackle issues in that area. We've also got an uplift of officers as well. We're getting an extra 16 officers by the end of March across neighbourhood. And then we've got an additional 12 officers which will be starting training in March. They should come out, I think it's September time. So additional 28 officers. That's on your neighbourhood teams. That's the officers that will be engaging, doing the proactive work in their neighbourhood teams. We've also got Operation Lockwood, which is a centrally based, government-based funded operation where we look at targeted hotspot areas, where we try and police our communities together. We've got the city centre pub watch has been set up again. It's really positive. And we've got pub watch, and we've also got what we call clear hold build. I'm unsure if you've been cited on that, but that was a project we've utilised in Rumney, in Blaenau Gwent, and we're now going to utilise that project in the Pill area of Newport, and that will be a partnership approach to making improvements within that area. It's real engagement opportunities, real come together, and pushing forward with that sort of project. So that's what we've got in relation to crime and the kind of things we're going on across the four. And then some of the things we've been doing in relation to engagement. We've had Crime Stopper surgeries, Heddlu back, which is where we go into the schools. We've had Bengal Dragons community football, business visits, youth groups, residential meetings, police and housing. Surgery across all wards have been increased. We've introduced Copper with a Copper, mornings in care homes, sheltered accommodation settings and area of vulnerabilities. We've got Op Senior and Cuckoo Watch, which is where we're looking after vulnerable people and trying to identify where people may be being negatively used by the community. We've got smart water events where we're looking at using that smart water also on off-road bikes and things like that to identify individuals. And we've had Christmas crime prevention surgeries, and we've also pushed a lot of funding, certainly over the Halloween, November time, Christmas period, into engagement events. And this year was the lowest amount of calls in the last 10 years in relation to Halloween calls and crime, antisocial behaviour, etc. We put a lot of engagement events on to mix in and use partners, etc., to try and focus in distraction events, putting things on where people could come and try and engage with us. So a little bit of a whistle-stop tour. I've tried to cover a few things. I don't want to go on. I could go on. But I'd really like to answer your questions and see if there's some areas that may have raised some questions or some thoughts for you.
Thank you, Chief Inspector. I've got Councillor Harvey. Oh, sorry, there's questions for the... I keep forgetting that every time.
And welcome, Chief Inspector. Thank you for all the hard work you and your officers do across this city. We really do appreciate it, and you make communities feel safer. And I know when I was walking with the PCC and a police team in the city centre a couple of days ago, just visible presence in the city centre, you could see people really feel that reassurance. And the Winter of Action, we welcome the PCC's extra funding in that, backed up by the Westminster Government. Could I ask a more specific question, talk about nuisance, which was what my question was going to be. We know, speaking to businesses, I spoke to businesses last week, I walked around the city centre speaking to businesses, it's recurring characters in the city centre that cause a lot of the incidents. And their repeated behaviour, they're put inside for a certain amount of time, everything calms down, then they're released, and the whole same pattern happens again. Can we think of working together with yourself, with the PCC's office as well, to how do we crack that nut? Because ultimately, dealing with those characters would see a dramatic drop in incidents in the city centre in particular.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You raise a really good point. Repeat offenders is something that continues to harm us. We've put together a performance picture. We've set up what we call task forces across the force. It's still in progress in some areas, but essentially we're highlighting repeat victims, and because victims come first, and repeat offenders essentially. And we will, in those areas, identify kind of the key offenders that caused us the most harm, not necessarily all the repeat offenders, but kind of the key ones that are causing us the issues at that time. And then we use a joint process to tackle them, both criminally and civilly. So, like you say, working closely together, because there are many ways that we could try and use intervention for etc., or work together using civil remedies that does work. So I think there's some work to be done there, some work to be done in a lot of areas, but it's kind of, I think, this joint approach along with a task force where we're jointly identifying those key offenders, key re-offenders, make sure we're looking and identifying the repeat victims as well. And like I say, I think it's key now that yeah, we push forward and work together rather than just when an offence is committed, we're kind of reactive. And I think we need to look at the longevity of what we're doing, really.
Okay, Councillor Harvey.
Being accosted, we got little hood rats driving around on bikes with no lights, electric, surons. They are all over the place and causing absolute mayhem. It is a nightmare for them. We've got mixed age groups, and to be honest with you, nothing seems to be fixing the problem. We've got PCSOs out on the beat. We've got our local force there, obviously, but nothing is fixing the fact that people are too frightened to go out after 4:30 in the afternoon, and that's not right on any ward. I do have another question before you answer that. Sorry.
No problem.
Can I see you outside after we've finished in here? I've always wanted to offer a copper outside. Now I have.
No, I think I got most of that, but no, absolutely. That certainly isn't something that, I wish to ever see, that people can't go outside after a certain time. Our main aim is to improve trust and confidence in the community, essentially. So when your question, was it about antisocial behaviour, was it mainly about off-road bikes or kind of electric bikes? A bit of both, is it? So, as you're probably all aware, is a real emerging picture, isn't it, in relation to saw on bikes, electric bikes. It's ever developing. They are becoming cheaper, quicker, and they're all really readily available. So, I was kind of the lead across the force on what was called Operation Harley, which is when I first started, it was mainly to do with off-road bikes on rural areas, which would enter urban areas occasionally, but mainly the problem was in rural areas. Now we've seen a bit of a change, really, in that we've seen off-road bikes, which are electric bikes, etc., used to commit antisocial behaviour, to cause nuisance, to cause criminal damage to land, to sports fields, etc. But also they're used for crime as well, which has caused a real problem. So how do we look at that? We've had to change our approach. We've looked at, obviously, what we can do legally, but we've also looked at what we can utilise with technology. Drones, we've massively increased the amount of drones we've got across the force, and you may have seen some social media where we've used drones, etc. We're also linked in with our helicopter or fixed plane as well, which we use on projects, and we're targeting these individuals. We're also linking in where we can with intel and housing, etc., to try and see and trace where these individuals are storing bikes. And essentially, we're kind of seeing a new area of policing in relation to saw on bikes. We've looked at, I mentioned it earlier, we're now looking at reintroducing, some forces have already used it, we have used it in the past, like a DNA spray. We're trying to identify individuals who are using this, so if they do go past an officer, and we can't stop them because, as you know, the problems with police vehicles, etc., and you can try and identify the individuals there. So that's in relation to the bikes. Antisocial behaviour, I think, well, certainly I'm a really proactive Chief Inspector. I really push hard that we engage and we get to the heart of the problems. Repeat victims, repeat offenders, and the thought that someone can't go out after 4:30 really bothers me. That's why we've put a lot of thought and work into the Winter of Action, where we've had the funding for, and we continue to push on with the ASB Action Plan. And it is, we're aware how much it affects people. I certainly am. I've seen the effects that this sort of behaviour does have on really vulnerable people in our community. And I continue to push that, and I'm more than happy to meet with you and kind of go through some individual plans for a specific area. But yeah, I truly understand how much it can affect people, certainly those vulnerable with our communities.
Thanks very much, Superintendent.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Corden.
Thank you. I just wanted to put on record thanks for the extra resource in the city centre over the festive period. I know from people that I speak to in the nighttime economy that it was appreciated and the difference was felt, which is brilliant. I know there's lots more work to do, but we had increased footfall in the city centre and people felt better. So we just keep going the way we're going. So thank you for that.
No, thank you very much. Yeah, I think the key for me as a leader, senior leader, is visibility. Yes, we don't always get things right. Yes, we're not always in the right places, but if we can try and be visible, if we can try and get staff out there in the areas, this is what we're talking about now, in the hotspot areas, the areas that are really causing us problems across Newport, then we can be effective. That's what the CAT team are doing. That's what Operation Lockwood are doing, and that's why I expect that my neighbourhood teams now increase numbers in the area where they need it at the right times. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cox.
Hello, Chief Inspector. I'm obviously very pleased to hear, in particular, obviously to hear the reductions in crime that you've described and the good work you're doing around ASB. I want just to make one particular point that I can understand how your resources and energy are drawn into the sort of, the sort of city area of the borough. But I just wanted to make a plea, please, on behalf of some of the areas on the outskirts, away from the city centre, in particular Cynllun, because that in those, certainly in Cynllun, if I can use that as an example, in those areas, there certainly are issues which deserve police attention. For example, with ASB, I mean, if I use Cynllun as an example, that to be quite frank, at night, there's very, very little for youngsters and teenagers to do, which might be another issue, I know. So they tend to congregate in extremely large numbers, usually around the co-op, around the Sainsbury's store, and cause considerable nuisance in terms of blocking their pavement and littering and etc. And even though that may not be quite on the scale that you might get in some other areas you're responsible for the victims, the level of nuisance is absolutely no different. And I would like to say that we really are very, very appreciative of the support we do get from our community support officer. She's done some brilliant work actually on ASB, and I'd like to give her all credit for that. But I would like to think that in people like yourself, when you're planning your resources and planning your activities, that you just keep us in mind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll put my offices where they can be most effective, definitely. And if you're asking for people there and those issues are raised, I think it's important we work together, identify the issues. I know Cynllun very well. I have worked it. And yeah, it's quite a busy, big nighttime economy at certain times of the year. We've also got obviously a large school, a large open area, and yeah, it does attract antisocial behaviour. I can reassure you, if it's identified, and I will go back and make sure that we are putting the right things in place. But certainly, I want to give trust and confidence to the people within that community that we are doing things. Yes, I know I talk about the city centre, etc. But what I'm trying to get across this evening is that we are concentrating on areas, hotspot areas, areas that kind of, we're using intelligence-led police, we're looking at figures, we're looking at everything to try and work out where our problem areas are. And that changes. So if we see a rise and if we are made aware, then of course, yeah, I will have my officers there, and they will help your residents and the vulnerable people in that area, especially around Sainsbury's.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Reynolds.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Evening, Chief Inspector. First of all, I just wanted to indulge the comments from the leader a bit earlier on about the increased visibility. I know, yeah, I'm online. Yeah, I know Councillor Corton just mentioned it as well, actually, but the increased visibility in the city centre, it does make a big difference. I'm sure not just in terms of actual crime and actual crime prevention, but in public perception as well, just people feeling safer by having that visible presence. So, yeah, just wanted to endorse those comments. But my question is, going back to when you first started your presentation, you were talking about some decreases in overall crime rates, which is obviously really good news, is, very welcome news. I just wondered, have you got any similar figures in terms of reporting rates and detection rates? And I suppose what I'm really asking is, how confident are you that those drops are actual drops as opposed to perception or just not being reported?
No, well, I'm confident the crime that's being reported, certainly on our systems, is reducing, and I'm confident that in all areas, certainly across neighbourhood sections, we've seen an increase in detection rates, and certainly, we're talking Newport Central 50% detection rate. Yes. Those offences are like shoplifting and public order and things like that. So ordinarily they are easy to detect. But I'm confident that we're trying to, I think your question's around whether we are investigating all crime reported to us, or are you saying that is there a non-reporting of crime that we're not aware of? Does that make sense? I wonder if you can clarify for me.
Yeah, I suppose really when you've got figures for that are showing that crime rates have dropped, I'm just trying to make sure that those figures are actual drops in crime, if that makes sense, rather than just crimes not being reported or not being picked up. But I mean, what you just said sort of reassures me quite a lot, actually. So I just wanted to clarify that. Yeah,
no, thank you. Yeah, that's all. The first figures I stated were kind of the overall crime figures. And then the next thing, I looked at the 3 sections, and I can assure you that the figures are really positive for Newport over a number of months, and we've certainly seen a decrease. And I really do believe that's due to the increase in officers, the continued uplift of officers pushed in to our proactive teams, the winter of action, the ASB plans, and up Lockwood where we're targeting those individual areas. It really is starting to have an effect on a visible presence and ensuring that crime's been reported. And don't forget, some of the crime that is on their statistics is crime there. We've made arrests and we've made some positive action. So yeah, I'm really hopeful that you have trust and confidence that we are kind of investigating and recording the crimes, and we've got a true picture of what is happening across Newport.
That's very reassuring. Thanks, Chief Inspector. Thank you, Presiding Member.
Okay, we're nearly out of time now, so I think Councillor Whitehead will be the last one to speak. If the others want to put something in writing, I'm sure you can address that as well later. Right, Councillor Whitehead.
Yeah, thank you, Presiding Member. I mean, normally now I don't tend to ask questions at this time. I normally go through Jason and the community officers because there's that many people got a question to ask. It's only because I heard you mention the Cuckoo Initiative earlier on. Can you just clarify that when you mean that, what you mean that is whereby people who might have a flat or a house, they're vulnerable people, and literally people are moving in and they're using that as a base for criminality and things like that? Because I do know a few vulnerable people that could be affected by this. Are you alluding to that? Is that what the Cuckoo Initiative type thing is?
Yeah, Cuckoo is where we've got individuals, they're probably vulnerable individuals within our communities that are being sometimes preyed upon or used, so to speak, as you put it, for a base, or using that person to commit crime. And using their vulnerabilities to forward their criminality across whatever area of crime they're in. So yeah, it's a really poor and quite a difficult crime to identify, to be honest, and deal with, because I think probably these individuals probably are scared to come forward and often don't have the support there that they think they may have. So it's important that we identify the individuals. We ask people in communities to be vigilant, and if they do believe these people are being victimised in this way or used for crime, then please report it. We check it out, and we work hard with these individuals to support them and obviously bring the offenders to justice.
Yeah. I should have tagged on, was it a growing issue? Because it used to be quite rare. Is it a growing issue in modern times?
Yeah, it's sadly becoming more common, not necessarily in Newport, but certainly across the UK, and it's something we have to be aware of. And I just urge you, please, if there are individuals you are worried about being utilised in this way, abused in this way, so to speak, please get in touch, and there are processes in place, certain teams set up, specialist teams we've got in our force, specialist officers to help and support those individuals coming forward, and we can bring those offenders to justice.
Cheers, thank you.
Thank you.
That comes to the end of police questions, but as I say to Councillor Howells and Councillor James, if there's anything pressing, I'm sure you could send an email to the inspector, and I'm sure he'll address that.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to do that.
Can I thank him for coming? And it wasn't that bad, was it?
No, not at all. I will come again, thank you.
Okay.
No, thank you for your time, I really appreciate it.
Right, thank you very much indeed. Harvey now to deal with, mind. No. On now to appointments. I do apologise for that, because I've got one set of minutes saying appointments is number 4, and the other one then saying appointments are number 3. Over to you.
Thank you, President Officer. Just to state that any appointments are recorded in the agenda. But I do have one extra, that there's at St Andrew's School, a Mayoral at Every is standing down, and her place will be taken by Janice Dent as agreed. Janice Dent has agreed to take up the role.
Is there a seconder?
Yes, seconded.
Thank you, Councillor Rockford. Right, all those for? Any against? Any abstentions? You abstaining? Right. Okay, so we've got 1 abstention and all the rest are 4. Right, we move on now to item 6, which is the half-yearly report on Treasury Management.
Thank you, Presiding Member. As common practice, this is the half-yearly report on our Treasury Management for the financial year, first half of the financial year 25-26. It outlines our borrowing and investments over the first half of this year, and has been submitted to Governance and Audit, who provided no comments to Council to consider. In the first half of the financial year, the Council undertook some early borrowing in the form of 3 long-term loans totalling 25 million and 1 short-term loan of 5 million. This is done at a time when interest rates dipped for a very short period of time, and the Council, knowing that as a clear need to borrow for 25-26, took advantage of those favourable rates. Thank you to the finance team for being so vigilant. The Council's borrowing position reduced though has still reduced from 168.4 at the end of March to 155 million March 25. This is because we took out 40 million of short-term borrowing for cash flow purposes at the end of the last financial year, which we're able to pay back soon in the financial year. We have a number of equal instalment of principal loans, which will repay back instalments over the course of the year. As a result of undertaking early borrowing, investments increased from 600k to 39.4 million, and the authority has been able to reinvest this on a short-term basis. It's important to note, however, that we expect the investment balances will reduce as the year progresses, as reserves are being used as planned, and the progressive capital programme reduces our internal borrowing capacity. Of the year-end balance, 10 million continues to be held in long-term covered bonds to ensure the Council retains its professional client status, meaning it can access better borrowing rates. The report also confirms the Council has complied with all its prudential indicators for 25-26. There is an underlying need to take out new borrowing as the capital programme is delivered in reserves as future capital programme outlines. There is also a need to refinance some large loans as they fall due For 25-26, there's a risk that the remaining Lobos could need redeeming, and there's a potential that in replacing these loans, it'll be at a higher rate than the council already pays. Officers will monitor interest rates closely to ensure the best rates are accessed for any new borrowing, in liaison with our external Treasury advisors. I ask this Council to note the report on Treasury Management activities for the 25-26 financial year.
Thank you, Leader. Is there a seconder to that? Right, okay. Any comments on the report? Can we move to the vote then, please? All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? I don't know whether Councillor got a hand of it. No, yeah, that's carried. Okay, thank you very much indeed. Right, we move on now to item 7, which is the Leader again, and it's the Council Tax Reduction Scheme.
Thank you, Presiding Member. As experienced members will know, each and every year the Welsh Government submit funds for the Council Tax Reduction Scheme. This is the version for 26-27. This is a scheme designed to help those low-income families in Newport and across Wales with their council tax bills over the course of the year. If people feel they are able to get this assistance, we urge all of them to contact the Benefits Department of this council. It's a valuable scheme, and it's there for all residents who feel they are struggling. We need to approve this set out by the regulations each and every year, and I hope all council members do so.
Thank you, Leader. Is there a seconder? Anyone want to speak on that at all? No? Right, can we move to the vote then, please? All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? No abstentions, that's carried. Councillor Townsend, you've got your hand up in the box there. It's been up there for quite a while. No, okay. Right, we'll move on now to item 8, the Licensing Policy Act. Councillor Spencer.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. And please bear with me. The licensing policy is more than a statutory requirement, and it shapes the safety, vibrancy and economic strength of our city's nighttime economy. Today, I present the revised statement of licensing policy under the Licensing Act 2003. As you may know, the Act requires every licensing authority to publish a statement of licensing policy before carrying out any licensing functions, and to review and republish the policy every 5 years. Our current policy expires the end of January 2026, and we hope it will be replaced by this revised version before then. The service has conducted a thorough review and consultation. Between October and December last year, officers consulted widely, engaging responsible authorities, businesses and residents. We received 2 representations, one from Alcoholic Change UK and one from an individual. Both were considered carefully. While they raised valid points, neither required major changes to the draft policy. The revised policy builds on the existing framework. More core principles remain, but we have updated the document to reflect legislative changes, Home Office guidance and best practice. Key updates include strengthened reference to alcohol harm and public health, guidance on licensing hours and city centre stress zones, personal safety initiatives such as safe space and ask for it. Angela. Clarification for the Home Office role of responsible authority, reference to pub wash, shadow licences and large-scale events, guidance on alcohol delivery services and compliance expectations, updated information on annual fees. The policy includes reference to Martin's Law, a law soon to come into force, ensuring that venues hosting especially large-scale events take proportionate steps to introduce security and protect public from potential terrorist threats. And there's no additional cost. This revision is a statutory function funded through Licence Act fees. Before I come onto that page, there's a little bit that's been scribbled on here for me. There is a typographical error at the bottom of page 6, which will be amended. This does not have any material impact on the body of the policy presented today. And just to finish, our preferred option is straightforward. Adopt the revised policy. It reflects current law, guidance and local priorities. It supports a balanced approach, encourage economic growth while safeguarding our communities. Members, by endorsing this recommendation, we send a clear message. Newport is committed to a thriving nighttime economy, responsible operators and safe communities. I commend the policy to you.
I bet you're glad that's over. Is there a seconder? Right, thank you very much. Right, no one wants to speak on, will put their hands up. So we move to the vote then, please. All those in favour? Any against? Councillor Townsend, I think, is against or for, I don't know.
Is that an against, Councillor Townsend? You got your hand up. And you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, it should be 4.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Any abstentions? No, so I think that's carried. Right, we move on now to item 9, which is the review of community boundaries and electoral arrangement. Councillor Corson.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Good evening, Presiding Member and members of the Council. I'm pleased to present the report entitled Community Boundary and Electoral Arrangements Review, Initial Proposals for your consideration. This report marks an important stage in our statutory duty to review community boundaries and associated electoral arrangements as required by the Local Government Democracy Wales Act 2013. The purpose tonight is to seek approval to publish and consult on the initial draft proposals, ensuring our community arrangements continue to reflect local identities and facilitate effective, convenient local governance. Proposals drafted by the Task and Finish Group include retaining boundaries for 22 community areas, amending boundaries in 14 areas to resolve identified anomalies, and adjusting community council seats based on a sliding scale linked to electorate size. These changes are intended to ensure effective and fair representation, future-proof for demographic shifts, and to encourage public engagement in the democratic process that underpin community council arrangements. The draft proposals contained within the report are not final. They are subject to change based on feedback received during the upcoming consultation period, and we invite all stakeholders and members of the public to participate in this process, and any representations made will be carefully considered before final recommendations are brought back to Council in July 2026. The consultation on the draft proposals would be open for 8 weeks, commencing on the 26th of January, and members of the public and key stakeholders, such as community councils, will have until the 22nd of March to provide feedback on the proposals. I commend this report to Council and ask that the initial proposals be approved for public consultation, as outlined in the document, with a follow-up report to be brought back to Council for consideration in July 2026. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder? Leader seconded. Anyone want to raise anything on this? All right, we'll move on to the vote then. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? I think that's carried. Right, we move on now to the schedule of meetings for 2026 to 2027. I move that. That's in the agenda. The seconder?
Seconder, Chair, and can I propose an amendment to be consulted with all members to start council meetings, to consider start council meetings at 4 p.m. instead of 5 p.m. If that could be a consultation with all members to see what the feeling is across the chamber.
Okay.
Can I formally second that, presiding member?
Okay. Right, without an additional amendment, and it is a consultation. Okay, so all those in favour of that, please? Any against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you very much indeed. We move on now to item 11, nomination for next year's Mayor.
Thank you, Presiding Member. It gives me great pleasure to nominate Councillor Deb Harvey, who has resolutely served as a councillor for Always since 2012. Councillor Harvey has been previously a Cabinet Member for Community and Wellbeing and currently sits on the Performance Scrutiny Committee, People and Licensing Committee. She is also on the Board of Governors at Alway Primary School and Lamworn High. I know everyone will join me in wishing her and her consort, Councillor Tim Harvey, all the best for the next mayoralty term. She is a force of nature. She's a great champion of Alway, and she's a champion of Newport through and through. It's a great honour to nominate her.
Thank you, Leader. Is there a seconder to that?
Presiding member, it gives me great pleasure to formally second the motion, and I was speaking in detail about her at the mayor-making ceremony.
Oh, can't wait for that.
It's the first time I'm actually frightened, I gotta be honest.
Right. Any votes on that? Sorry, seconded to that? Oh, it's been seconded, sorry. All in favour? Thank you. There's no one against, is there? No abstention, so that's carried. Well done, Councillor Harvey. Best of luck.
Thank you, everyone.
We did say that we were going to move on to the motion that's on the agenda today, but obviously Councillor Howes hasn't been here, I think. So in the, are you going to make the? You're going to do it, are you? Right. Okay, that's fine.
Thank you, Presiding Member. In the absence of Councillor Howes, I'm pleased to put this motion on behalf of the Liswelly councillors. And I do hope it has support across the chamber, because it's about responsibility, not politics. I won't go into the motion, but what I do want to say is Newport County and the Dragons are part of We Are as a city. They bring into the city centre, they bring footfall, support local business, inspire young people. Both clubs are under real pressure, and we should not pretend everything is fine. It is simply not good enough that Newport County still has no permanent training base in the city that it represents. That weakens the community links and is not sustainable in the long term. Support could mean like helping out with grant applications, offering officer support, or working with Welsh Government and sporting bodies like the FAW and the WRU. It's about using the influence and resources we have already available to us. It's in a sensible and lawful way. The motion does not commit the Council to spending money. It commits us to taking this seriously, working together and finding practical and lawful ways to support both clubs and secure the future of Rodney Parade and the surrounding area. If we care about regeneration, jobs and civic pride, then we should support this motion. I urge members to vote in favour. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
I'm happy to second.
Right. Yeah. Leader?
Thank you, Presiding Member. Can I propose an amendment which I think Democratic Services have got electronically, and we've got some hard copies. We don't disagree at all with the sentiment, and we just wanted to highlight a few things. First, the Council is on record of supporting the Dragons. I was the first council leader to come out in Wales to support our regional side. In fact, we're the only chamber cross-party that supported the Dragons with the original WRU proposal. So we're on record already of supporting the Dragons. And they have been very appreciative of that. We also want to amend a couple of things on the motion. For example, there's no mention of Newport RFC and its cultural significance to the city. And so we want to acknowledge them. And importantly, we want to acknowledge all the grassroots clubs across this city, the mums, the dads, the grandparents. They're the fabric, they're the lifeblood of this city. They're the future talent of Newport RFC, the Dragons and Newport County. And we want to put on record the council support for grassroots for that. I've also prioritised sport since I became leader. I've created a cabinet member for sport. I've funded a new sport officer to support applications for grassroots clubs. So it mentions that. We're also coming forward with a new publication of Newport's pitch strategy, which is critical to understanding what we have, where we have it, who is it available for, including our grassroots and elite clubs. As the Lisbon Independents rightly say, the Dragons and Newport County are central for the city centre's economic well-being, and that's why the Dragons are on the placemaking board, central to that decision-making for us. And officers already work closely. I know Cabinet Member for Business and Growth and the Cabinet for Sport speak to those clubs on a regular basis. But I would happily, warmly welcome a bid from Newport County FC, the vision document, a business plan, and private monies available that we can work collaboratively in a public-private partnership to discuss how we can secure their future. Rodney Parade is secure, as I understand it. It's privately owned, and we are in discussions with the clubs about how we can enhance that. In terms of Newport County, again, more than welcome to talk to Newport County, and we have been. And it's important to note, if the Lisbon Independents had spoken to us, we could have informed them how closely we've been working with the clubs. And I've had a letter from Newport County Chairman Hugh Jenkins, who says, Newport County AFC would like to formally express its support for Newport City Council and reaffirm our shared commitment to working together to identify the best possible solution for the sustainable training facilities within the city. Over recent months, there has been ongoing constructive communication between Newport County AFC and Newport City Council. These discussions have been positive, open and focused on finding a solution that supports both the long-term needs of the football club and the wider community of Newport, and they go on. There's also a supportive statement from the Dragons and others. So I urge the Lisbon Independents to have spoken to us beforehand to understand that sport is central to my position as leader, to this cabinet, to this Labour group. And we will work with all the political parties and all the sporting clubs, not just the football and rugby clubs, the netball clubs, the cricket clubs, and particularly support all our volunteers in grassroots clubs. And you'll see that support in the upcoming budget.
Thank you, Leader. Is there a seconder to the amendment? Right, we move now to the amendment. Do anyone want to speak to the amendment?
Yeah, can I, Presiding Member?
So, wait a minute, I got Councillor Davis first. I will come to you. Councillor Davis.
Thank you. Speaking to the amendment. I grew up in a football-mad family where there was watching local teams, major teams, or the grassroots teams my brother played for. I watched them all. We all played football. Girls didn't have lessons or teams then, so my dad taught me the basics and we played in the local park whenever we could. Times have changed considerably and so much for the better. It's brilliant to see so many girls' teams thriving in Newport. Meeting a rugby-mad Welshman changed all that, but again, with that passion came the joys of watching our local games and teams, as well as relishing the opportunity to see Wales play, especially when we were winning. I genuinely get how much sport matters, and I support the leaders' commitment to grassroots sports. I value how much sports makes a difference to your health and well-being at whatever level it's played or watched. All the more reason why grants, funding and support has to be evenly distributed. Newport RFU, the Dragons and the County are all great teams, mainly because of their links to grassroots teams that have developed the talent that has helped them to excel over many, many years. And it's our job to help ensure this continues to happen. And the reality is that we do not have money, taxpayers' money to give to County to develop a plan to build a new stadium. It's not realistic, feasible or fair. It's taxpayers' money, and our residents rightly hold us to account on how this is spent. Currently, our budget proposals are out for consultation, and every resident has the right to respond and state where they believe we should prioritise spending. This year, our financial statement from the Welsh Government is the best we've ever had, after years of austerity and cuts, having already spoken to many residents. Looking at social media, I strongly suspect the majority of them will tell us we need to spend more on our roads. And we know that's the case because we live here, and I promise you we're listening. Taxpayers' money being spent on being safe and putting the pride back into the whole of our city is what matters. I support this amendment. It reflects a realistic approach to supporting all our communities, all our sporting activities, recognising the intrinsic value of health and well-being and ensuring accessibility for all. This is an honest approach to balancing the books whilst being able to be fair to all our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Councillor Whitehead.
Yeah, thank you, President Member. For me, sport has dominated my life and my brothers, 6 of us, 7 of us actually. I played rugby all my life, I boxed, and I've coached for many, many years. So I think there's 2 separate issues here. I mean, it's by default that a local authority should support children through sport anyway, and they should shout about that. Like I say, they're 2 separate issues. The first one, he didn't mention money. I don't know why money has been mentioned there about spending, because Councillor Sterry did actually point out that they weren't asking for monies. They were asking for a stage, if you like. And I think the point he was making, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that the county and the Dragons in particular, so the Dragons is a region that attracts massive attention. They're under the microscope, often on the television, likewise Newport County. I don't think he was being derogatory in any way to other sports. I mean, because we all come through the grassroots. What I think he's saying, these teams are magnified, and that would also magnify us as the council. I mean, Swansea City Council aligned themselves with Swansea City Football Club and the Ospreys, and it worked. It was very, very successful. I think he's looking at it from that side of things. I mean, I just think that we've cross-pollinated the grassroots issue and the Dragons and what he's suggested. They're different. Of course, everybody, all party-wise across the chamber, absolutely grassroots made us, is what we are. And that's where my life has been. My lifeblood, I've spilled blood for grassroots. So, I mean, I don't think he's saying that. We know, we take it for granted that the council should support us. I think what he's saying is a different story altogether, that these teams are literally Britain famous. He's asking for us for them 2 teams to be more magnified, along with the council going along with this. And that's what I think. They are 2 separate issues. It's not about money.
Thank you, Councillor Whitehead. Councillor Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. We accept the amendment, but I really am disappointed at it. What my colleague was asking for is that we, as a council, no matter what your political background, no matter who you represent, we want the people out there to know that as an entire council, we stand behind our sports teams. They're struggling at the moment, and to go back to the previous speaker, they're not just Britain famous, they are world famous. Some of the greatest players to grace the sport have played in Newport over the years. Newport County, God love them, are known throughout the world. They're known as courageous fighters, often on the back feet. But they stand up for this county, this city, and they wear the city crest with pride. We want this council, and we know everybody in this council chamber is as proud of them as they are to represent the city. And all we're asking for, that we send the message out as a united council, that we stand with you and we will do everything that we possibly can to keep you in existence. Our future is linked to their future. If one of our clubs go down, it's a kick to the nether regions of the City Council. It's in all our interests that our sports clubs, no matter what level, and I take the leader's point, no matter what level people play at, this City Council is there right behind you. We feel your pain and we will do everything we can to get you out of it. That's all they're asking for, and that's all my colleagues' motion ask for. Whatever can be done, this City Council promises that we will give whatever we can and what we can afford.
Thank you. Councillor Corson.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I just wanted to add further to what the leader said regarding us working closely with the Dragons, with Rodney Parade. Obviously, Rodney Parade was part of the culture strategy, it's part of the placemaking board, and they attend our monthly events meetings as well, because we do value and appreciate what an asset it is to have that stadium in, right on the doorstep of the city centre. So we do work closely with them from a culture perspective as well. So I just wanted to share that with everyone.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
Yeah, thank you. Just want to make a couple of points. I think what's been slightly missed is what the leader said is that if you'd have spoken to us, you'd see we've got relationships already there. And I think that's really key. We don't have to build relationships today. We've got the relationships in place. I think that's a really, really key point. And I think sort of just going on about, I'll touch on the placemaking first of all, sort of what's the involvement? And the leader has also mentioned that they're on the board. But also, if you look at the placemaking plan, which was cross-party, page 60 and page 63 is dedicated to the Dragons. It's actually dedicated to them, dedicated to Rodney Parade. So Newport County and the Dragons and Rodney Parade are peppered in the placemaking plan, which is really key. And I understand the point Councillor Morris has made about the Dragons and about Newport County, but I think sort of what's really important here is they're not the only two sports in the city. They're not the only two sports in the city. Where's the mention of supporting Newport netball, Newport basketball? Just massive, but also these clubs also are part of our community. And it was mentioned in the words about weakening community support, weakening community support. In the last 12 months, we've visited and funded and supported Newport West Netball, Newport Basketball, OYFC, Cullinan Rugby, Newport High Old Boys, and many, many more. We've also got a strong relationship with County and the community, which is really, really important. But I would also touch on where the motion has come from, because it's not about us, it's about Newport. But it's about the communities, the grandparents, the kids. We've also supported where the motion has come from, the Liswerry ward, the new pitch. How much we funded that. Liswerry Lizards, we funded and supported them. Newport City FC, we funded and supported them. So I can't see where the weakening in the community support is. And if you don't believe me, because here we stand and it's our words, I'll refer you to Newport Cricket Club, which is also in the Liswerry ward. And I quote, this is not us, because, what do they say? Do they mean it? Councillor Petroni and Councillor Clark have provided a new perspective for sporting clubs in the city. We feel that visiting the clubs, which they have done, first-hand, work being done by city youngsters and offering support has been a positive. It's bringing the community together and volunteers feel valued. It's not us saying it, that's Newport Cricket Club saying it. So what I would say is the amendment is necessary because maybe the motion didn't cover everything off. I didn't see in the motion the words grassroots.
Councillor Clark, could you start to wind up?
So, just summing up, we are doing it. This council's doing it. I just wish you spoke to us beforehand because we could have moved this forward.
Sorry, can I just have a point of clarification, Presiding Member? Councillor Clark just said he's disappointed there's no mention of Newport Netball, Basketball, Newport City, Newport Cricket Club. Are you proposing, I can't see them in your amendment, so are you proposing to add those to the list? Sorry.
No, the whole point being there are examples is all sporting clubs.
Let's move on. Councillor Howells.
Thank you, Presiding Member. If you'll indulge me for a second, I'd firstly like to pass my apologies to my colleagues in the Chamber this evening. Due to a personal matter, the motion I originally proposed, I was unable to give an opening speech to, and I thank my colleague Councillor Sterry for doing that on my behalf, and I've now managed to join in time to understand that an amendment's been submitted. I'm just sort of hearing some of the debate around the sort of reasons for the amendment and the requirements. I think there's been some sort of misunderstanding on the some of the wording on the original motion, because it doesn't and didn't ask the council to empty its pockets and write a blank cheque to any of the sporting teams that represent us in the city. In fact, the proposal might not provide any funding at all. It asks the council to consider all options, asks that we act responsibly, collaboratively and proactively. It proposed a cross-party task force supported by officers to work constructively with clubs and other interested stakeholders, and that support might be grant funding, specific officer time to assist with grant applications, working proactively with Welsh Government and sporting bodies such as the Welsh FA and the WRU to bring in funding to the city to support our professional sport teams. Also, Councillor Clark mentioned that the motion suggested that that there was a reference to weakening of the sort of council's relationship with the community. The wording wasn't intended to be like that. What the wording of the motion was is that by teams travelling outside of the city, this to train, that in itself weakens the football club's connection to the local communities, not the council's connection to the local communities. So apologies if there's been a misunderstanding. As my colleague said, Councillor Morris, we will support the amendment, but we do want to make sure that the football clubs receive all that they can in terms of our support as a council, and we hope that happens. We would like a cross-party working group, and clearly the amendment doesn't go that far, but we hope that we will continue to work in a constructive manner, putting party politics aside, to ensure that we as a council and not any political party do the best by our professional sporting clubs, and to take suggestions of councillors and Councillor Clark in particular and any other sporting clubs and grassroots sports across our communities. Thanks, Presiding Member.
Thank you, Councillor Howells. I've got Councillor Screen.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I did declare an interest as a season ticket holder of long-standing for Newport County AFC. And it's a very hard time for supporters of Newport County AFC. It often feels like we're at the end of that old Japanese curse. May you live in interesting times. And these are interesting times for Newport County AFC. But I just want to support the amendment because I think it's a good amendment. It shows Newport's commitment to all sport in Newport, and I'm very pleased to see that the council willing to get involved with talks with Newport County, and Newport County willing to engage in talks with the council. So, I think that's very pleasing to see what comes out of those talks. So, yes, I would support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Green. Councillor Routley.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I think it's great to hear such enthusiasm for the sporting prowess of Newport mentioned yet again. I'm not going to repeat what has been said, although I agree with all of it, and I think the amendment is a better version of the motion. It has improved it, and I'm glad to see that the original mover of the motion, Councillor Howells, approves of it as well. As a trustee of the David Bomber Pierce Legacy Charity, we work with many sporting individuals and clubs right around Newport and indeed Gwent. We've had the privilege of raising thousands upon thousands upon thousands of pounds for sporting individuals and for teams to sustain them in their push forward. What I would like to do as one of the principal trustees of that charity is to say, as you're developing a collaboration between, or develop the collaboration between the council and the sporting flagship sides within Newport, we would like to offer our support and our expertise and come on board with you just to discuss how we've done it, how we've brought the grassroots up, and how we can collectively, as Newportonians, make Newport proud again. Congratulations on bringing this motion here. I can already feel the atmosphere and the excitement coming to Newport over this issue. We will succeed.
Well, you can take your rattle then, can you, next time? Right, Councillor Pym.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Back in 1993, I was successful in having my work placement for work experience from school at Newport County. They were based at the King's Pub on Somerton Road at the time and playing their home games at Newport Stadium. At the time, they didn't have any training facilities. They trained in the local park with just cones as goals. They had no nets, and the training sessions were structured around the facilities that were available to them that were quite bleak at the time. Now, my understanding is Newport County still do not have any training facilities of their own, although improvements have been made. We're a growing population in Newport. That has been mentioned on a number of occasions in this chamber, and we've got one of the biggest youth populations in Wales. When the leader took up the position, I pleaded with him to improve the facilities, the sporting facilities across the city. After our chat, he went out and he spent time meeting as many sports clubs as he could to get an understanding about what the issues were at grassroots and what improvements could be made. Off the back of those meetings, he created the cabinet role of sport, which Councillor Mark Spencer now fills. Off the back of Mark taking on that role, he initiated the pitch strategy, and the purpose of that was to offer Newport vision and opportunities in the future to improve and progress sport. So as a leader and as a cabinet, we have been doing what we can, I'm not in the cabinet, but as a party, sorry, doing what we can in a short space of time to progress sport. And we are making inroads and we are making progress. I think every person in this chamber at the moment wants to see an improvement in Newport County's results and see them get out of the relegation zone and be playing in League 2 next year. Their success, right here, right now, is out of our hands. All we can do is turn up on a Saturday and support them the best we can. But as a Labour Party, and also as a full chamber, cross parties, in the future, we can discuss what opportunities are available to not just help our professional teams, but also improve the opportunities for our grassroots teams. My two daughters started playing girls' football 3 years ago. They're both playing now. We have seen an increase not just in our traditional sports, but also our new sports across the city. We're trying to keep up, but we are committed to make improvements where and when we can, and most importantly, when that funding becomes available, to be able to create that vision that we all want. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I got Councillor Hughes.
Thank you. What I wouldn't want today or tonight is that anybody left this meeting tonight, either in the city or in the council, thinking that we weren't supportive every day of the sports clubs in our city. I think that's really important. The opportunities there for cross-working are there in all our briefs and portfolios. I've worked with the independent group myself on some important work on my portfolio, which was as a result of talking to themselves. I think it's important as well, which is why I want to speak tonight, just to give you an idea that, you know, one of the things I'm going to read you now is a letter from the Dragons themselves, just so you see the extent of that support that we get from this city. But before I do, just remember that the gentleman sitting behind us, the leader, was the first leader to come out fighting on behalf of his city's rugby team in the recent difficulties we had with the Welsh Rugby Union. Okay, so it's important that we remember that we have got a council and a team behind us here and a leader that does support our city's teams. Dragons RFC have worked closely with the council and the current leadership team over the future of our club, associated clubs and Rodney Parade Stadium, and we look forward to that relationship continuing. They have been outstanding supporters of the club and stadium in recent times during what has been an intensive period of instability in Welsh rugby. We hugely value their constructive and continued support and look forward to continuing to work closely to ensure fruitful ongoing discussions on our future professional sport in Newport and the development and enhancement of Rodney Parade Stadium site. So it's already happening, and it's really important that we don't lose sight and undermine the really good work that's happening already and undermine the really good work that's happening in grassroots. Even in my ward, I've had Councillor Clark coming down, we've had Mark coming down, we've been working there, Councillor Spencer, and we've been, you know, talking to all our sports clubs, if anything, at grassroots level, with children, with young people, with the families, and we've been giving them support. And I'm sure that's happening throughout the city and all the wards. So let's not leave here today and send a message out to the media that Newport Council does not support our teams, because we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Councillor Horton.
Thank you, Presiding Member. As you know, where my business is, I sit in quite a unique position, and I've dealt with both the Dragons and County for pretty much the last 10 years. Sat with almost every senior person that works at Rodney Parade, and had many cups of coffee and chats about things that have gone on, things that have happened, support that they needed, support that they've had, support that they would really like. And my point that I want to make is that in the last 10 years, at no point until now have they felt that they've received so much support from the city as they're getting. They've asked and asked through the years, as you all know, but it's not until in recent times, certainly with Dimitri at the helm, they do feel that the support is, they genuinely feel that support is there. Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you, Councillor Horton. Councillor Aliwami.
Yes, thank you.
apologies, but if I missed it, I am being online. I haven't really seen a copy of the amendment. So, is it just me? Because I haven't heard anybody else from those online saying the same thing.
Councillor Al-Rami, can I just stop you there a minute? Have you sent that to Councillor Al-Rami? It's been sent to you online.
It's been sent to me online. What, on my email, is it?
Sorry?
On my email?
Email. It was sent to you by email.
Okay.
Councillor Al-Nami, it's been sent by email to all members.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I didn't realise that has been done. I'll have a look at that, presiding member. But if I may comment just on the debate, and I'm not sure really whether we are debating the amendment now or we're debating the motion. But
Councillor Al-Rami, we are discussing the amendment. The motion was put, and then a further amendment was made.
Yeah. In that case, then I'll sign off and have a look at the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Al-Rami. I got Councillor Evans.
Thank you, presiding member. I am a bit disappointed that we couldn't come up with a cross-party motion and a cross-party working group, which I think would have been beneficial. So it's in the amendment. Oh, it's in there. All right. Sorry, apologies. But I was going to say, but I will be supporting the amendment in any case. For as long as I can remember, Newport RFC and then the Dragons and Newport County have been at the heart of the city when it comes to putting us on the map. To be honest, not always for the right reasons. I can remember the dark days when the county went into exile and at Spitty, not so long ago, being asked to choose the man of the match because we had sponsored the match ball and no other sponsors turned up. Hopefully they've forgiven me for my choice by now. Similarly, we saw the demise of Newport RFC when the new era of regional rugby started, on a high for the Newport Gwent Dragons, but then that took a turn for the worse. But there have been many positive moments. Newport Rugby beating the All Blacks, winning the Welsh Cup and Championships. Newport County, FA Cup Giant Killers, appearances at Wembley's, promotions. And the recent change of fortunes for the Dragons, long may that continue. You could feel the change at Rodney Parade. Despair has turned to optimism. And while the WRU are doing everything possible to destroy the game in Wales, I am confident these challenges can be overcome. So I welcome this opportunity to do what we can to ensure the long-term viability of both teams and clubs for economic, social and civic reasons. And of course, grassroots clubs, the volunteering, the parents, play a vital role, that should go without saying, and you need the success of the senior teams to encourage your youngsters to take place in the first place. So I will support this amendment and look forward to receiving regular updates and hopefully some successful interventions.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. I've got Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I think there's a bit of miscommunication over the motions. I want to be honest, I'm not a football or rugby fan, but I am aware that Newport County have been going to Pontypridd to train, and I understand the grassroots, which has been mentioned, and I do welcome all the grassroots teams. However, we wanted to place urgency on the Dragons and the county, because I'm not aware of any grassroots which are having to travel to Pontypridd to train. It's like we should have our sports in our city and be proud of it, and just put a bit of urgency. So we're more than happy to support the amendment, and we'll drop the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think anybody else wants to speak now. I believe that the original person that moved the motion... Sorry? Yeah, but I believe that the original person who made the motion is allowed to speak now. Yeah. No, it's Councillor Sterry moved them.
Sorry, Councillor Spencer.
Oh, Councillor Spencer, but I'm on about Councillor Sterry move the... if you look at standing orders...
Yeah, so if there are no other members who want to contribute, Councillor Sterry can comment as he proposed the original motion.
The original motion, and then it comes to the amendment.
Then Councillor Spencer's reserved right to speak, and then the leader on the amendment.
Okay, right.
Okay.
All right. Councillor Sterry, do you want to speak on...
Can I just move the motion?
Well... No, because the motion wasn't moved by you. It was an amendment, wasn't it? Do you want to speak on it? That's all.
Well, no, we're just going to go with the amendment.
Okay. All right. Okay. Right. Councillor.
Okay. Thank you, Presiding Officer. I feel I'm being picked on a bit today. I got to speak again later. I spoke more tonight than I have in 13 years. But anyway, no, I happily second the motion. I'm not going to repeat what everybody said because a lot has been said. The original motion, I can understand it. We need to support Newport County. Whether we need to support the Dragons so much, I don't know. I think they're in a pretty good place. They've got good training facilities. If I remember rightly, when Ystrad Mynach was built, it was built for Newport Gwent Dragons, and that is why the training facilities may well be in Ystrad Mynach, because it's in Gwent. But I do understand Councillor Morris's motion about supporting Newport County with training facilities. Yes, there are some stories behind that. I can go into it. If people want to speak to me after, I can tell you. But however, grassroots has been mentioned today. I'm trying to meet as many grassroots clubs as I can. I met today again Riverside Rovers for the third time. And I'm trying my best to meet every club. Football, rugby, and then let's not forget other sports. We've had cricket mentioned. I've been contacted this month about BMX tracks. I was contacted just before Christmas about skateboard parks. There's a lot that needs to be done in this city, and as a council, I will say this chamber, we all need to support whatever we can on sport in this city, from the grassroots, from the tennis, from ping pong, anything, from there right to the top. So I support this motion.
Thank you very much, Leader.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Just a few technical points. I'll end. Councillor Routley, I recognise your expertise in boxing, and actually I might have some exciting plans on boxing, which I will definitely discuss with you. I'm always up for cross-party discussion. As a leader, since I come into post, cross-party placemaking, and I've worked with the Lisbon Independents on No One Left Behind. So I'm always up for a cross-party discussion, always will be, because for me, for the Labour group, this is for our city. And I know opposition members feel the same. And I know Councillor Edwards particularly is a huge supporter of the Dragons, and I respect that. And I know Councillor Howells is a massive supporter of county, and I respect that too. On Councillor Whitehead's point about Swansea, we did recognise that. I did recognise that in point 6, where I warmly receive and to have those discussions with county about a business plan and a vision document. I did look at Cardiff and Swansea. There were substantial private sums invested in that, and it was mainly based, but I'm happy to be corrected on this, on developing out-of-town retail to support those developments. Two concerns about that. Out-of-town retail would be a real struggle for the city centre, so we have to seriously think about that. And also, we have to understand what private monies are available to facilitate. As my deputy leader quite rightly pointed out, it can't be all on the taxpayer, as I think we all sort of recognise, but that has to be clearly point out. And as Councillor Pym rightly and eloquently said, we all want, even if you're into football or not, county to stay up. We want them to stay up. We support them in every step to stay up. We need them to stay up for the city, for our businesses. And I'll end on up the county.
Thank you, Leader. Right, now we move to the vote on the amendment. Okay, All those in favour of the amendment? Any against? Any abstentions? No. Right. Are there any comments now on that?
Are there any comments on the motion as amended?
No. Okay. Right, we're going to... Oh, a vote on the... Right, we got to... According to the standing orders, we got to have a vote on the motion that was amended. All those in favour? Seems a bit silly. I was worried at one stage when you mentioned about boxing with Councillor Rowley. I thought... Yeah, we could. Right. All those in favour of that? Yeah. Any against? No. No abstentions. That's carried. Thank you very much indeed. Right. We move on now to questions to the leader. Sorry? You can do, if that's what... Is everybody happy with a break for 5 minutes? Yeah. Well, we ought to have commodes put in here, didn't we? That's what we ought to have. Right, a 5-minute break. Right. We move on now to item 12, is questions to leader. Councillor Evans. Sorry. Oh, leader's announcement, sorry.
Thank you, Presiding Member. It's a big year for Newport, and particularly big on our events. We're hosting a new Comedy Casnewydd comedy event, free comedy festival, being held across venues across Newport, like Riverfront, The Place, Newport Market, the Corn Exchange, the Phyllis Maud, the Fire and Ice. We're holding some amazing comics. Please go and see. I think the first allocation got sold out almost immediately, or not sold out, but taken up almost immediately, so we've had to release some extra tickets. Go on the website if you're interested. We have St. David's Day, of course, so I welcome you to that celebration at the Riverfront. We have Newport's Festival of Words, the second year of that. Some reading, some talks, some creative workshops. Again, if that's your bag, please go down, free. So various locations. We've got the City Half Marathon. I did that last year. The least we say about that, the better. We have Newport Music Trail, free music event again. If you'd like to see some up-and-coming bands, some more established bands, all for free, and have a good night and maybe a few drinks, go down to the Newport City Centre, and again, various locations, which I'm sure you can find on the website. So please go and do that. I've launched for the Council Newport Business Awards, which is a celebration of our private sector, our entrepreneurs, the risk takers in our city. And I've always been clear since I've become leader, it won't be the taxpayer that drives economic growth in this city, it'll be private enterprise. And we have to recognise that innovation and that endeavour. So we're hosting the Newport Business Awards. I believe nominations are still open. I can see nodding. So if you're a business and you think you've done really well, please submit an application. Judges will be independent and business owners themselves. It's being held at Rodney Parade. Those who are interested, go on our website or speak to me or others if they wish to attend. We have a new school name for the Millbrook and Monroe Primary Schools. This was done as part of the school community and the pupil voice. And I'm going to try and say this correctly. Ponti and Gamlas? Yes. Good. I need to work on my Welsh. Talking about Welsh in the workplace, for the second year running, Council has been recognised for Welsh for Gwent Adults Awards. We received the award for Cymru Gareth scheme, and having been awarded Employer of the Year last year's awards. The scheme is a partnership between the Council, Welsh for Adults, Coleg Gwent, and the National Centre for Learning of Welsh, and strengthening our Welsh skills across the city. No One Left Behind updates. It's, again, as I talked about, it's a cross-party endeavour with the Liswery Independents. We've chose Dyffryn for a £500,000 fund. Residents have been really taking the opportunity to have their say on where the money should be spent. Don't forget it's grassroots-led, not by the experts, as it were. We are pleased to be working with What Impact to understand the social value of delivering the grant scheme. And we're considerably consulting with the voluntary and community and business networks in those areas, because, again, it won't be the council that drives it, it'll be that community, that partnership working. Lots around the roads, and I know it's a hot topic on social media, quite rightly so. I drive a car too. The weather has been particularly bad with frost and then rain and then refreezing, which has weakened a lot of roads across the city, not just in this city, but across Wales. We know, and the budget in February upcoming will recognise that pressure, and we will fund that pressure to get as many roads as we can get done. And I know my Cabinet colleague for infrastructure, I can assure you, daily ask requests for further funding support to get those roads either resurfaced or repaired. She is on it. But I just remind members, we put 6.6 million, the highest in 10 years, last year. And I'm pleased to say the programme of this work, we've carried out 20 roads resurfaced. This includes the A46 Caerphilly Road, the A48 Chepstow Road, the A48 Cardiff Road, B4237 Chepstow Road, and Town Bridge, just to name a few. Do we need more? Absolutely. We've got Malpas Road to do, Corporation Road to do, Conwell Road to do, Somerson Road to do as well. They're all on the work programme. Could I do them all tomorrow? No. Does this frustrate residents? Absolutely. But I can assure you we are resolute. We know the roads are a priority. Thank you so much, Presiding Member.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Presiding Member. In 2003, the Welsh Government announced the establishment of an urban regeneration company, Newport Unlimited, against the backdrop of huge job losses in heavy industries and manufacturing, particularly at Llanwern Steelworks. It was a partnership between Newport Council, the WDA and Welsh Government. After the Welsh Government withdrew its funding, it ceased to exist in March 2014, almost 12 years ago, having attracted around £230 million in private investment over its tenure. Last week in your Cabinet meeting, you had your capital programme monitoring and additions report. This states, whilst there is available headroom, it should be noted that it would only take a handful of significant issues to arise for this to be fully consumed. The scope to undertake additional projects funded from new borrowing is extremely limited when considering the challenging medium-term outlook, with new council borrowing being the absolute last resort and only where it is clearly affordable, prudent and sustainable to do so. There are, however, £2.2 million of unallocated capital receipts which need approval from the Welsh Government and need to be spent on city centre regeneration. This was still left over for when Newport Unlimited disbanded all those years ago. So can the Leader of the Council explain why this funding hasn't been utilised yet at a time when a city centre needs all the help it can get?
Thank you, Councillor Evans, for the question. As for the fund not being utilised yet, I can't speak for previous leaders, and I'm sure there's very good reasons why they didn't use it at particular times. It has been dipped into over the years, I can tell you that, by officers for various programmes. We have to get the Welsh Government to agree. It's not solely in our discretion. As I understand the terms of reference, we have to get Welsh Government to endorse the release of that money, and it has to be released for particular projects and a broader plan. We're working on that plan very closely. The plan requires more than the amount held in that reserve, because 2.2 million is a lot of money to most people, but in city centre regeneration, it's not enough, so we have to lever in more. And we've been very successful in levering in more funding from other sources. For example, we've had £17.8 million from the Vibrant and Viability Place money,
Targeted Regeneration Intervention Fund of 4 million, Transforming Towns over 17 million, including the new leisure centre, Market Arcade, Heritage Funding, which over £1 million, and Shared Prosperity Fund over £10.5 million for city centre projects and events, and some of the events I've just outlined. I just worthily note we don't lose the money, there's no requirement, there's no time limit to the use of the money, but do I agree that we need to spend it on city centre regeneration? Yes.
Can I, yes, thank you, Presiding Member. Can I thank the Leader of the Council for his response and the reassurance that the funding hasn't been forgotten. I'm sure we can all think of numerous ways where this could be spent on regenerating the city centre. My main concern is the time it takes Welsh Government to do anything productive, and I think you made a veiled reference to that. We heard recently that Mark Drake, the Finance Secretary, responsible for the £27 billion budget, apparently has never been interested in the economy, and that was words from the First Minister. So can you reassure this Council you will name and shame anybody from Welsh Government who tries to put spanners in the works?
I would never name and shame anyone. It's not really my style. But what I can't speak for what Minister Drakeford is, but I am certainly pro-business. I'm pro-entrepreneur, and this group is, and we evidenced it by the Newport Business Awards, because I recognise, as I said in my announcement, private sector is the way you grow this city, not through council funding solely. And the money hasn't been forgotten, I can assure you, and I know my Cabinet Member for Business and Growth is nagging me about that money as well. So we need to spend it in the city centre. It has to be part of a holistic package, though, not just by itself.
Councillor Howells.
Thank you, Presiding Member. The Leader has touched on my question during his announcements, but I'll raise it anyway because there are a few additional points there. So, residents in Liswerry continue to raise serious concerns about the condition of Somerton Road, Cromwell Road and Corporation Road, all of which serve schools, bus routes, pedestrian crossings and high footfall areas. The deterioration of both Somerton Road and Cromwell Road in particular is now extensive and clearly visible, with repeated surface failure, standing water and recurring defects along a key stretch of the carriageway. Ward members have been advised that these roads are included within the Highways Resurfacing Programme, with completion currently indicated by June/July 2026. However, despite repeated requests, ward councillors have not been given clarity on where these roads sit within the current programme, when works are expected to start, or whether Somerton Road and Cromwell Road will be prioritised given its condition and usage. Can the Leader of the Council confirm whether Somerton Road and Cromwell Road will be formally reviewed as priority sites within the Highways Maintenance and Resurfacing Programme in light of its current condition and safety risks, whether the Council will provide ward members with defined indicative timescales or sequencing for the works, rather than a broad mid-2026 completion window, and whether additional interim safety-led works will be scheduled on Somerton Road in particular, while residents await full resurfacing beyond routine reactive patching.
Leader.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Howells. And do you know what? Before this question, I actually have my haircut and I drive down Cromwell Road and you know how bad it is. It is not great, and I can understand residents' fury. We want to get on with it ourselves. We're also a bit reliant on subcontractors. So in relation to your timescale point, it's usually about subcontractors and them giving us when they're available and then giving us the time when they will be there. I can only speak for my ward. As ward members, we were told maybe 5 days before certain roads in our ward were going to be told. What I can assure him and his colleagues is they'll be the first to be told by our officers of when it's due. But I can assure him those roads are on the priority list. As I understand it, and we spoke to officers yesterday about the priority list generally, they're working on it. They're doing a ranking order of those priority lists, and we asked for a reassurance that those roads are on the list. Your other question was about interim safety-led. I don't know the answer to that because it says beyond routine reactive patching, but I will certainly ask officers for you.
Okay.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Thank you, Leader. You must be psychic today because you preempted my supplementary question, which is really about giving some assurance to the members of the public on the record that highways investment decisions and priority decisions are based on condition, safety and need and not any other political representation or other cause or influence. I'm not making that claim, but that's a claim which our constituents have made directly to us, that they're suffering as a result of being an independent ward. I'm not making that claim, and I know we constructively work together. But I'd like you to just state on the record that those decisions are made on the basis of the roads and not any other decision, if you would.
I can happily say that on the record. In fact, the officers and the cabinet member are meticulous about making sure it's depoliticised, and I can assure you that is not the case. We've done a lot of wards in Conservative wards and other independent wards, and I can say this as well. I don't care. We need to get all our roads resurfaced in all wards across this city, because whether it's a Labour ward, an independent ward, a Conservative ward, this is our city, and we love our city, and we want all our roads, and people don't stay in wards based on political affiliation. We drive around the entire city. As I said, I have my haircut in Liswerry, and I drive through those wards, so I know how bad it is, and I can assure his residents, for what it's worth, we are meticulous about making sure that list is not political, but based on priority need.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Presiding Member.
Thank you, Councillor Howells. Councillor Whitehead.
Thank you, Presiding Member. My mother would say probably a talking shop, but I would like to ask the Leader whether through the process of questions to the Leader, has there ever been a time when a positive and real outcome has materialised from this exercise? If yes, are there any examples?
I believe so, and one of the first things I would say, Councillor Whitehead, and I know why you make this point, because you're not a talker, you're a doer, and I completely understand that. But I take, as all other leaders, take this role seriously, and I should be held to account by yourself, by the opposition, by my own members, because it's a privilege to be in this position. It's a privilege to be leader of the city, but there are issues, and my decisions and our cabinet decisions should be held accountable to you, to the public. And what I would say to you in terms of practical differences is I take note of what you say and the issues you raise, and I take that seriously. I take my role seriously, and I respect all my colleagues in this chamber, both Labour and the opposition, and I hope I give clear and honest answers to all your concerns and issues.
Thank you, Leader.
Oh, no supplementary, fine. Councillor Oakley.
That chair's a long way down. I might have to borrow your bolster, Chair. It really is a long way down, like. Leader, you often champion Newport as the economic engine house of Wales due to our 9.5 population growth. However, this growth has clearly outpaced our infrastructure. With major projects like the new leisure centre still under construction and city centre footfall, no matter what anybody says, struggling, how can you justify further expansion when basic services for our current residents are already stretched to breaking point?
Thank Councillor Ratley for that question. Can I just be clear? The way you've worded it makes it sound like I'm personally responsible for the population boom of Newport. Can I assure my partner and the colleagues that is not the case? We have no plans to put any population restrictions on the residents of Newport. They're free to have as many children as they so please. What I would say to you about infrastructure, our infrastructure does need a lot of investment. No doubt, 100%. And I look forward to support when we put that investment at the next budget meeting. And in terms of the city centre footfall, actually it's not. It's bucking the trend
of Welsh figures, we increased by 1.2% while Wales went down. Is that what it was in the 90s and 2000s? No, clearly not. But it's positive and it's in the right direction. And I think it's the events that are having that material impact. And I've said this on many occasions. I think I've been quoted in the press as well. Retail won't be the same in our online world and online shopping. We have to think of new ways to regenerate our city centre. And I think events is one of the ways we can continue to do that.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Well, I just think you're really missing the point here then. If you claim that footfall is bucking the trend and going up, and I guess it is, maybe the footfall monitors are not in the right place, financially speaking. It's seeing a deficit in relationships to Newport Market. Based upon the current projections, the Council appears to be missing out on roughly £27,000 per month, every month for the last and going forward 2 years. So that's over £600,000 that we haven't had. Now, jeepers, and what we need to understand, if you claim footfall is increasing, how come the taxpayer, who you promised would be receiving income back from the market at the rate of £270,000 a month, haven't actually seen any success yet? We've seen nothing. When is the market going to start repaying the taxpayer back? That's what we want to know.
Chair, I'm not sure how the market relates to infrastructure in the city. Yeah. I thought it has to relate to the original question. Am I wrong?
Well, yeah, and I think really you need to put that in writing. Yeah, I think what he's trying to say is that you've mentioned footfall about where the money's getting. Absolutely. That's what he's asking about the money.
I'll ask about the car parking.
Yeah.
No, it's car parking.
No.
Not the car park. You don't want me to talk
He was on about the market, he was saying.
What we're on about is Newport Market. You claim that that footfall is increasing. And, OK, according to your numbers, it's increasing. But the deficit on Newport Market at a rate of £270,000 per month has not been repaid. We're not collecting. We're not collecting the £270,000 per month, which equates to £600,000 that we've lost over the last 2 years.
Can I stop you there, Councillor Rowley? You didn't mention about the market and that deficit in there, and I think you should have done that in the original question. That's the issue. Now, what I suggest you do is put that question to the leader in writing, and then that can be answered properly, because you didn't mention that in the original.
I'll happily answer that question.
Well, if you're happy to
writing,
do that. Yeah, in writing,
Presiding Member. Yeah. I'm not sure how it relates to population growth and infrastructure, which was the original question.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'll happily answer his market question in writing.
Right, thank you. Right, we'll move on now to questions to the Cabinet Member. From Councillor Evans now to the Cabinet Member for Assets and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Cabinet Member, what is the average time it takes to replace street signs?
Thanks, Presiding Member. Thanks to additional funding from Welsh Government, I'm pleased to share that this year we'll be able to replace street signs faster than ever before. In fact, we'll be replacing 5 times the number of street signs this year than we have been able to annually for the last decade. As members know, Newport City Council has lost tens of millions of pounds from its budget since 2010, sadly, due to a Tory government in Westminster with a taste for stripping back public services, all while pressures have increased on us. So I'm glad to say that we'll be replacing 175 street signs across Newport this year, which will clear almost half of the backlog. Thanks to this money, we've also been able to clean 309 street signs, and this work will continue at least until the end of March. We're working towards securing additional investment to keep the replacement and cleaning work up at these additional levels. The signs replaced will be prioritised in accordance with the Highways Asset Management Plan. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Evans.
Yes, thank you, Presiding Member. I appreciate it might not be the most important issue facing residents, but it is a symbolic of how systems are broken. Let me give you one example. At the beginning of March last year, I reported a couple of street nameplates which had worn away through the NCC member city services as instructed. At the end of July last year, I received an update to say that one of these signs, don't know whether, would be replaced within the next 6 to 8 weeks. As of today, 20th of January 2026, they are both still blank. Well, one is, the other sign has fallen out and has obviously been picked up by somebody and sold for scrap, I suspect. I am tempted to get a marker pen and fill them out myself. Perhaps you could get a local artist to do them across the city. So I'm sure that would be very cost effective. So are you pleased with the service provided?
Councillor Howells.
Not pleased with the example you just gave, but I'd obviously have to look into the detail of it, and I will. I think, as I've said, we've recognised that it is an important matter, the missing street signs, and I've had representations from Labour elected members along the same lines. And that is why that budget has been increased, precisely because we've recognised that it is an issue. Actually, we increased it last year as well from internal funds, so it went up from 10 to 20 last year. So there's a recognition there, and there's a desire there to get rid of the backlog, and we are working quite effectively towards that.
Right, Councillor Oakley.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Cabinet Member, the rural lanes of Bishop and Langstone have moved past the point of pathetic patch and mend repairs. They are actually failing. These roads are not a luxury. They are essential lifelines for our hard-working residents, the safe passage for our children going to school, and critical infrastructure required for our farmers to tend their livestock and manage the land. The current state of these highways are treacherous and represents a dereliction of service to the rural community. Will you now stop the sticking plaster approach and instruct your officers to conduct an immediate comprehensive survey of our lanes within the next month? Furthermore, will you commit today to a full renewal scheme, not mere patches, with a guarantee that these essential works will be completed within 12 months? Our residents pay their way. It's high time this council delivered the basic infrastructure that they desire and need. Thank you.
Thanks. Over the last year, thanks to additional money coming to Newport from the Welsh and UK Labour governments, we have been investing more money into roads than we have been able to for more than a decade. This £6.6 million investment means that 55 roads across the city have been or will be resurfaced. We all know that the backlog of work needed on our roads significantly exceeds £6.6 million, as I think the leaders discussed at length in an earlier question. But even with the best will in the world, it's impossible to undo 14 years of underfunding from Westminster in 18 months. And all councils across the country are finding the same issue. Not just Wales, the whole of the UK. Of course, at this time of year, after a period of cold weather, potholes are worse and officers are assessing damage caused by the recent cold spell at locations across the city. Day-to-day repair work carries on alongside the major resurfacing work. For residents in your ward, Councillor Outley, who I completely sympathise with what you're saying, I'm pleased to say that as a result of this significant resurfacing investment programme, lanes in the Bishton and Langstone ward have seen investment, with sections of Whitebrook Lane and Gilbark Lane being resurfaced this year, and the A48 Chepstow Road crucially also received surface treatment works. Resurfacing sites, actually on that note, I think residents might have noticed highways activity on the lower part of Maltbus Road this week as well, which I just thought I'd mention because it's quite related to it. and that's the further preparatory work needed in readiness for its full resurfacing next month, so that's also really good news, I think. Resurfacing sites are identified in accordance with the Council's Highway Asset Management Plan, the HAMP, using a criterion that ensures an appropriate prioritisation. The programme for next year is currently being developed using these criteria, and as has already been said by the leader, it's not influenced by councillor representation at any level, not mine either, and for legal reasons we can't deviate from that prioritisation order. In terms of routine maintenance, these lanes are inspected according to their defined hierarchy in line with the Council's Highway Asset Management Plan. This is the case for all roads across the city. In this case, they receive an annual inspection with additional inspections whenever inquiries are received. So I think part of that would be to make sure that issues are being reported. Thanks.
Just supplementary?
Yes. Presiding member. Malpas has nothing to do with the Bishton and Langston Ward. The geography is a little bit off, but that's okay. You mentioned the Whitebrook Lane. Whitebrook Lane is subject to 7 years campaign, not just by myself and Councillor Montford, but by residents as well, who threatened to take you to judicial review and everything else. I mean, we've had a couple of failed attempts there, but over 7 years it took us. Constantly pressurising, and the directors sat there, and he will know how many times that we, over the 7 years, it could be 8 years, that we kept on about that. And it was only the litigation threat that in the end made it through. Our residents are facing horrendous journeys and horrendous travel, and it's not the main roads. You understand, it's not the main roads. These are the vital lanes. These are the infrastructure. If the main road is the main artery, these are the vessels going into the artery. You are stifling business. You are putting our children at risk. You are doing all those things. You mentioned the Welsh Labour government. They've been in power for well over a quarter of a century. They could have put money there instead of frivoling the money away. But no, what do they want to do? I want to help you. Let's not allow them to spend money on the old green roundabout. Let's stop that straight away and give you the money so we can invest in an infrastructure.
Keep to the point, please.
Okay, well, I was just going on the Malthus Road issue. So,
well, thank you for that. Time's up, Bill.
Okay, well, I'll wind up then.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
But you get my point. I mean, will you come and meet with us in Bishton and Langston? You know, quite often, we know. And maybe we can meet for the coffee, and I can show you the lanes of doom that's there.
No bribes, please. No bribes.
Well, that's not a bribe. I'll give you one as well.
Yeah, very happy to meet, especially if there's a coffee. Yeah, absolutely, although I don't completely accept the point about the Welsh Labour government, because obviously the money starts at the top, doesn't it? And, you know, these were political decisions taken by a Conservative government that you weren't going to give everyone enough money to do these things. And here you are complaining about the result of it. So, you know, I don't completely accept your point on that. But I think what we need to focus on is that, you know, under the current leader, we've put a huge amount of investment into resurfacing, and that is the reason why the likes of Whitebrook Lane and Gilbark Lane have been resurfaced this year. But yeah, very happy to come and meet and look at the lanes, as I am across the city and as I do across the city. Thanks.
Unfortunately, now the time is up, so I suggest that you can put your...
Have you taken the Interventions Act?
Sorry?
Have you taken the Interventions Act to stop your clock?
One intervention.
There was only one short intervention, and that was added to Councillor Routley's speaking time.
So have a word with him not to speak so long. Right. Move on now to questions of the Cabinet Member, Cabinet Member of Communities and Sport, Councillor Malford.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Presiding Member, the former leisure centre at Underwood remains an unsightly and environmentally toxic building. Over 1 year ago, that's December 2024, the presence of diesel outflows in the associated car park was reported. 1 year on, after no apparent action, it was again reported, and action was then initiated by NCC in December 2025. In October 2025, the Cabinet Member met with ward members on site following a request associated with previous questions to Council regarding the former leisure centre. The Cabinet Member committed to investigate the options open to NCC with respect to the deteriorating structure and the impact on surrounding area. Can the Cabinet Member now give a full update as to overall progress made on points 1 and 2 above, along with any other relevant new information relating to the site? Thank you.
Cabinet Member.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I'm up again. To talk on two things which has got nothing to do with me whatsoever. So there has been some confusion, but I have said I will report back. Regarding the first point, there have been two unrelated fuel incidents at the Underwood Leisure Centre site a year apart. The first incident in late 2024 was investigated by the Environmental Protection Team as an alleged diesel dumping event. However, the case had to be closed due to the lack of enforceable evidence. NRW were notified and confirmed no water course impact. The second separate incident, reported in late November, early December 2025, involved new fuel contamination affecting both a private leisure centre site and adjacent NCC-owned land. This triggered a council response, including site visits, sampling, appointment of environmental consultants, engagement with the landowner. The investigation points to the likely cause being leakage from an underground heating fuel tank associated with a former leisure centre building. The team have issued abatement notice and keep actively progressing with the investigation, enforcement and remediation actions. Regarding the second point, officers continue to monitor the site when complaints are received and have found the site to be secure. All concerns about the building being open to access should be reported in the normal way. I am also advised that the appearance of the site has not warranted formal action under Section 215 of the Planning Act, and at the time of the most recent inspection was not considered a dangerous structure in accordance with the Building Act. As privately owned building, the council options for intervention are limited principally to the enforcement powers. However, I am seeking, this is not me seeking, because it's not my problem. However, I'm seeking a meeting with the owners of the site to discuss their plans for the site and seek a way forward. Thank you.
Do you want a supplementary, Councillor Mockford?
Yes, but can I first note that my audio is not so good this end, and a lot of what the councillor said was clipped. Did I hear him say it was not his problem? Could he clarify what he meant by that? I didn't get the full context. And if I'm only speaking once, would it be possible, I noticed the Cabinet Member read his response and stuck to the script, would it be possible for the Cabinet Member to send me a copy of the script? on the basis that A, I didn't hear it all very clearly, and B, when I asked my questions at last council, it took well over a month for the minutes to manifest. So I really would like a written response under these circumstances in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. As I said, Councillor Markwood, I have not personally met with you out at Underwood on issues with the leisure centre. I have met with you at Underwood with representative of Glanlyn Football Club, and that was early in my position as a cabinet member. I'm not sure what cabinet members you have met at the leisure centre, what other cabinet members you have met with, but I will chase that up and I will, yes, send my responses to you, which I've already read out.
Point of clarification, presiding member, if I may.
Well, be quick and make sure it relates to that.
I understood my question might have gone to Councillor Hughes. It was Councillor Hughes that I met on site in October, and it was Councillor Hughes who was going to look into the situation on our behalf, myself and Councillor Heddlu, and report back about the situation regarding the leisure centre. So apologies, Councillor Spencer. I was referring to Councillor Hughes in my question.
Okay, right. Thank you. Right. I think that concludes the meeting of the council this evening. The next meeting will be on the 24th of February 2026. I close the meeting. Thank you.